Howdy folks, Nathan Adlin here with the Fast Lane Car and TFL Now. Thank you so much for joining me. This is another episode of Ask Nathan. Now before we get started, you might be wondering about these two trucks. Well, we have a special that's coming up very soon on TFL Truck, and it's called By the Numbers, or TFL Trucks By the Numbers. Now rather than having a review, a lot of you guys want to know the basic numbers, the brass tacks, exactly what's going on with these vehicles. So head to head, we're going to put these vehicles against each other with measurements and a lot of other things that you personally want to know about. And then later on, another vehicle will come in and compete against one of these vehicles. So it's going to be cool. Stay tuned for it on TFL Truck. Okay, let's get right to the questions. Yeah, you can tell. I'm really ready for football season to begin. Okay, here we go. There's a lot of questions this week, so we're just going to jump right into it. First one, why no manual transmission trucks on the Ike Gauntlet? And that's a really simple one. As far as we know, there's only one truck, heavy duty, that's available with a manual transmission, and that is a Ram. So we don't have any other vehicles to compare against it. With that being said, it would be great if we got the manual transmission truck, the Ram, and got it up the hill. So send your requests to Ram and say, hey, we want that 2500 with the manual transmission to go to TFL Truck to go up Ike Gauntlet. All right, I hope that's a fair answer. Okay, second question. Good truck for $5,000. Easy to own, maintain, and modify. And this comes from Nick. Oh, by the way, the last one came from the multi-purpose reviewer. These are the names you guys are choosing. Okay, so, I'm sorry, this question is from Buzz Lightyear 30, who's actually 13 years old. That makes sense. Okay, so the good truck for $5,000 or less that's easy to own and modify. Have you considered the Jeep Comanche? Now, I had one of these. Basically, think of it as a Jeep Cherokee. Straight six is available, 4-liter, which is a good engine. It's a very solid platform, very easy to work on, and frankly, very cheap to work on. And you can get a decent one for well under $5,000. So that's a recommendation. There are others, the Chevy S10 and a Ford Ranger, but the Jeep, to me, really represents something that's cool to modify and really easy to own. This next question is from two people, from Stephen Bradley and from Mr. Butter. Sorry, that's the name you gave me. Or is it Butterface? I think it's just Butter. Okay, the first part of that question is, when we get the Ranger, will we test it? Of course we will. That will be one of the first in line begging to get it if it comes to the States. And the second part of that question is there going to be a Mazda version based on the Ranger, just like in the old days? We have absolutely no idea whatsoever. I asked Mazda, and they kind of laughed at me and kind of raised their eyebrows. But they also responded with, well, we never even thought we were going to be building Fiats until about a year ago. So they're not too sure. They're not 100% at least. Mazda's a small car company, and they could use a pickup truck. Now, with that question is another part that comes from an anonymous person, I believe, which says, what about a Kia or Hyundai pickup truck? Sorry, guys, no extra information on there. All we know is that Hyundai built the Santa Cruz, and the Santa Cruz is basically a ute or a car-based vehicle that has a bed, kind of like a Honda Ridgeline. And we have no idea if they're going to build it. We've been hearing one thing and the other, no idea. Okay, let's move on to the next question. A cheap new car or a very nice used car? And this comes from Nick. Nick, I got to tell you, there are several reasons why a new car makes sense for certain people. For instance, if you bought, let's say, a Hyundai Accent, a very inexpensive car, 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. So for those of you who are not into doing maintenance and whatnot, that might be something to think about. And the other side of it, of course, for that same price, you can get a very nice Honda Accord sedan or any number of vehicles. It depends on what your priorities are. If you want the protection, you want that extra feeling of, hey, I have this car, nobody else has touched it, nobody's molested it, it's just mine, new car. Otherwise, you go for a used car. And personally speaking, I tend to go for the used car because I want to get the most for my money. And I feel confident about being able to keep an eye on the things it needs to maintain and keep going. All right, let's go to the next question. Ford, this is a good one. The question comes from Jake Olson, or Olson. He wants to know, is Ford going to build a special Super Duty to combat the Ram Power Wagon? That's a really good question. Andre fell in love with the Ford Super Duty. In fact, he still has like the kiss marks on his face from the side of the truck. He really likes it. And Mr. Truck liked it too. The bottom line is this. Ford sells a lot of Super Duty trucks. And this new one, from everything I've heard, is going to sell like hotcakes. Do they need to compete with the Power Wagon? I don't really think so. They look at the big numbers. They look at sales. So in terms of sales, here's where the Super Duty is. They're selling, 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 selling. And here's where the Ram heavy duties are. They sell. But then the Power Wagon, it's a very small margin. There are only a few trucks that are being sold by comparison. Does Ford need to do that? I don't think they do. With that being said, I really hope they do it. If they do, then we're going to be the first ones begging for it, and we'll definitely take it off-road and put it up against the Power Wagon. Okay, good question. Okay, Ricardo is asking, this is a quick question. The Sierra/Silverado twins or a Toyota Tundra? Now, the problem is that's all you asked. You didn't ask whether or not we're talking about the 6.2 liter GM products or the smaller power plants. You didn't ask any of that. So this is what I'm going to tell you. I would personally pick the Silverado with the 6.2 liter V8 because I just love that setup. And then I would get the Toyota Tundra. If I was serious about going off-road, I'd get the TRD Pro package. There you go. It's the best I can do. Okay. As I said, a lot of questions this week. A used 2014 or 2015 crossover for commuting and going to the coast. And this comes from someone named Hari, H-A-R-I. Well, that's a really general thing. You understand that the crossover segment is now one of the largest segments out there. So I'll keep it simple. If you're looking at something that is reliable, easy to drive, and inexpensive, think about the RAV4. If you want to go to a larger vehicle, maybe a Honda Pilot. If you want to go to an even more powerful vehicle, consider the Ford Explorer with the EcoBoost engine. Okay, Scion FRS versus Mustang EcoBoost versus Camaro V6. And yes, I have driven all of these. And this comes from Mo. Hey, Mo. Really good name. I'm going to say the Camaro V6. You wanted a vehicle that was a good daily driver. I fell in love with the Camaro V6. I think it's one of the best power plant combinations with the manual transmission out there. The Ford EcoBoost, it's great. It's fun. But I really think the Camaro's the way to go. The Scion FRS, you drive in Washington, D.C. I just noticed that part. In D.C., you won't notice a power loss because you're pretty much near sea level, so that's fine. But my personal pick in terms of overall usability, drivability, and fun, the Camaro. Okay? Next one. Oh, yeah. This comes from Tamara. Hi, Tamara. How you doing? And she asks about the favorite football team, baseball team, and hockey team for all of the TFL crew. Good question. For me, this is my favorite. My second favorite is the Broncos. Everybody else here loves the Broncos, except for cameraman Ian, who has some strange attraction to the Minnesota Vikings. We all like the Rockies. We all like the Avalanche. There you go. Real simple. Okay, next one. Snow versus dry Gold Hill. Why do we do it? Drew, this comes from Drew. Really good question. We obviously know that when Gold Mine Hill is covered in snow, it's much more difficult for the vehicles to get up. And we only go up it with vehicles we think might make it. So it is not a direct comparison to the rest of the year when it's dry and rocky and we go up there with other 4x4s and crossovers. We understand that there's a major difference between the two. However, our point usually is, look, if it can get up the hill covered in snow, it's a really good snow vehicle. And that all comes down to tires, which, by the way, one of you guys asked, why don't we have tires, a stack of them, that we could just put on all the vehicles to make them, absolutely competitive with each other. I wish we could do that. We don't have the money to do it. That's really expensive, and it would take extra manpower to equip each and every vehicle with the same tires. But maybe one day it's something we really want to do. We test vehicles that come from the factory with the tires that the manufacturer gives us. As such, that's their best bet. That's what they want to give you. And that's why we test them with those tires. Okay, so that's the reason. Okay, final, this is the bonus question. Best project car for under $2,500 to learn about mechanics and engineering. I got a great answer for you. Buy an old air-cooled Beetle. Emmy somewhere out there is going, yeah, Beetle, because it is absolutely the essence of what mechanical engineering is. They're very inexpensive. Parts are readily available. You can get a messed up old one that may come with only half an engine for probably $1,000 and then start building it up. And you'd be surprised what you can find at wrecking yards and online. Highly recommend that vehicle to learn about mechanical engineering. You could build a great car, and then you can do videos about it. In fact, if you do that, and your name is Amir, if you do that, send us the video or send us the pictures. By the way, that goes for all of you. If you do something cool or something amazing or you see something neat, send it to us. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Nathan Adlin with TFL Now. Don't forget, next week we'll have another Ask Nathan. Put your comments below, and I will see you later. All right, Randy sent an email to Roman and to TFL Car, and it was sent to me. He tows a 5,500-pound travel trailer, and it has a tongue weight of 720 pounds. And his question is, which pickup truck would be best? He needs to drive the truck every day.